Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are in the free world. We're live on the Tech Tuesdays, another exciting adventure of a partnership between South Florida Tech Hub and the Owwll App.
Let's be honest, Jeff. We're doing some cool stuff in podcasting, aren't we?
We are. We're
All these boring podcasts out there that are just doing interviews all the time. No, this show, we are partnering with South Florida Tech Hub and doing some cool stuff.
And we have an exciting guest today, which we'll get to. But speaking of boring, let me get some administrative things out of the way. So I'm Jeffry.
You're doing some unique things in South Florida,
Sorry.
and a lot of people are collaborating at these events. It is not boring. It is exciting.
Thank you, Jason. I shouldn't take that.
I drank a Celsius this morning, of course. So I got some energy, and so did our guest Valentina. Which
I'm on my second one.
There we go. Number 2 for Denis.
Can you bring up the Wayback Machine? I'll explain the reference if you don't get it, and we'll delete my comment. That was from the Bullwinkle and Rocky show for you old timers out there like me. Anyway, I'm Jeffry Ullman, live and in person. I'm director of membership and partnership, South Florida Tech Hub. As Jason mentioned, we've got some exciting events coming up for all the startups and VCs. We have our annual Ignite event. It's going to be Thursday, November 14th at the Boca Raton Innovation Center, not too far from here. We had them on a show a couple of weeks ago. Great venue. It'll be an exciting event. So all startups, VCs, and interested parties. It's out on Eventbrite, or if you got any questions, follow up with me.
And Jeffrey, I pitched there last year. Do you remember this?
That's true. And you were on a panel.
And we had our interactive Owwll podcast booth there as well. And we will be there again this year. So you could come there and meet VCs, meet angel investors, meet amazing brands, and of course, pitch and get your chance to win a lot of money. And then on top of that, get content, right? Where else do you go to these events and there's a cool interactive podcast booth? Get sit in and get awesome videos and then cut up and create these reels for your brand, right? That's pretty unique.
I forgot to mention, Jason's going to be live and podcasting there. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the Owwll App, I am live. Well, not right now, but I have regular office hours on the Owwll App every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Give me a call, and I'm available periodically as well. And we'll get to our guests as to when they're going to be available. One other exciting event. This is a rescheduling of our Tech Talent Fest. We had to reschedule due to the hurricane. It's rescheduled for Monday, November 18th. It's going to be at Florida International University in Miami. And we have an exciting keynote speaker. It's the author of this book, LinkedIn Profile Optimizations for Dummies, Donna Serdula. Great speaker, is going to be our keynote speaker, and she'll have a workshop there. So without further ado, I think I'm going to let Denis introduce himself, and then Jason, and then we'll start with our special.
Does Denis really need an introduction?
I think he does.
He's been a host many times on this show.
Yeah, I'm excited
to be behind the scenes on all these amazing videos over at Tech.
Wow, Jason, I need to hire you. That's a good plug.
Of course.
So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Like Jeff says, Denis from Media Components. We're a full-service digital marketing agency. I'm proud to be a co-host on Tech Tuesdays with South Florida Tech Hub and powered by Owwll. This morning, we have a very interesting guest, the expert in cybersecurity, Valentina, and we're going to get into some interesting questions. I'm really excited to learn a little more about cybersecurity since I'm more of on the geek side, technology. So we have the right person.
You're just a geek.
Yeah, I am a computer
geek. We're going to nerd out a little bit today.
But yeah, we'll definitely nerd out. And let's get into Jason, the man, the myth, the legend.
We're going to have to write a book, me and him. Security for dummies, though, of course.
Yeah, that's what today's all about. Security.
People like Jeffrey and myself, we don't know how this phone works. We don't know what we're doing half the time. But
is this a compliant podcast? We got to watch what we're saying.
I do kind of operate a mobile app, so I kind of have a tad of knowledge on the subject, of course. But enough about me. Let's jump into Valentina. Let's go right into detail. Tell us about your business and a little bit about your journey, creating this business.
Thanks. Valentina Flores, CEO of Red Sentry. And my background's a little bit different than most. I actually started out as a cop and a detective. and then landed in cybercrime somehow, and eventually decided to make the shift to the dark side of the private sector. And I've been here for about 5 years in the private sector. So my company, Red Sentry, we are an ethical hacking company, which basically means we hack companies before the hackers do, show you where your vulnerabilities are so that you can fix them before you're the victim of a cyber attack. So that's what we do now. If you're more technical, it's penetration testing and vulnerability scanning, and we'll talk about all the terms. But at the end of the day, it's a team of hackers who have permission to be hacking you.
It sounds like fun. I kind of want to just have a day at your office and be like, I'm on this journey with you. Let's hack someone. Let's do it.
Yeah, hacking is fun. Managing hackers, not as fun. I'd say they're one of the hardest demographics to manage as a leader. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's always different. Cybersecurity is evolving so fast right now, which is chaotic, but in a really exciting way as a company.
So how did you make this jump though? Right. Often, when you're on salary, you have good income, you got good benefits, you have typically a pension, right? Like most people, the police side, the fire department side, school teachers, it's like once you get a couple of years under your belt, you're like, I can't give this up, right? It's too hard. It's a good lifestyle, right? How did you transition to entrepreneur?
Yeah, my husband and I were both actually in law enforcement, and I loved what I was doing. I worked SVU for a long time. I felt like I was truly making a difference. Like I loved my job in local law enforcement. But I just felt like I was ready for something else. I have ADHD. I think I switched departments within policing like every 6 months, and I was ready for something different. And when I actually switched to cybercrime, the first time I was pregnant, because I couldn't be out running and gunning. So I was put behind a desk for a while. And that's when I landed in cybercrime, and I joined a state task force and a federal task force. And I realized like how far behind hackers we were, or like cyber criminals. And it was truly like, it was just exciting to see like the puzzle and the game of it. And, I decided I want to be on that proactive side, because being reactive, you are making a difference, but it's kind of exhausting and draining just talking to people once they're already the victims all the time. So that's why I made a shift into proactive cybersecurity and teaching people how to not become a victim in the first place.
Wow. Can you kind of just describe a unique story that you saw? Because like, I think of my mother when it comes to this stuff, and she's always calling me or emailing me like, is this a serious text I received? Or I just got one yesterday from like the DMV out in New York. And I'm like a missed ticket or a toll. And I'm like, crap, did I go through a toll? Right. Then I'm thinking like, wait, I don't even have a car in New York anymore. I'm like, but maybe it was a rental car. And like, I really put those pieces together. And then I'm like, do I click the link? I wanted to click that link, but I went to Google first. And then even after you go to Google, like it's interesting. It's hard to figure it out. And then eventually I'm like, it's a scam, but like not everyone's myself. Most people will be, my mother who's in her late 70s, and she's going to go, oh shit, I forgot to pay that toll. Right. And they send that to 10 people, maybe not 10, but 30 people, because they're sending it to massive amount of people's with cell phone numbers that hit New York, or even out of state ones that just happen to probably have a car in New York. And all of a sudden, like, a massive amount of people are filling out data, Social Security, and their information is all over the web. But of course, brands, right? I'm a financial advisor as well. And like my computer sitting in the other room, has applications, from clients, either it be an investment application or insurance application. And, it's a scary world, right? So can you describe like some stories? Give us 1 or 2 stories that you've seen, and our audience can really kind of understand, the stuff that you really are doing out there, and how much of a need it really is for brands and for people themselves out there.
Yeah, there's so many myths around cybersecurity. And I think that's why it becomes such an interesting podcast topic or panel topic. I'm speaking on Tech Talent Fest in a few weeks, and it's cool because it's like there's this mystery around it and people don't know what's going on. But there's so many myths around cybersecurity. And one of the biggest, most dangerous ones is that I'm too small to be a target. No one cares about me because our company's too small. We don't have millions in the bank account, or even as an individual, I don't have hundreds of thousands in my bank account. So why would they target me?
Yeah.
And it's just not the case anymore. Hackers went through an evolution years back where instead of spending 2 years trying to break into Equifax, I can spend 5 minutes and break into 300 companies at once, because I know that they're not focused on cybersecurity. So for example, we were talking about, healthcare earlier, Dennis, and, healthcare and schools and governments, cybersecurity is not
and
a priority.
nonprofits. A lot of nonprofits don't think it applies to them as well.
Yeah. And, it's so hard. And I've come from the government world, so I get it. It's hard to make cybersecurity a priority, but that's where hackers are able to attack hundreds and thousands of businesses at once with one click of a button and steal $1,000 here, steal some data here. And it's just it's a scalable business. And I think people think of hackers as like this guy in the basement in a hoodie, and like, yes, sometimes true, but they're also these like complex organizations where they're learning how to scale their business and their criminal enterprise. We had a company who came to us and they were completely pre-sales. They had not sold one thing. They were a startup and they got hit with ransomware for $3 million. And we're seeing that more and more where these companies, it was funny, a few months ago, we had a company come to us and they got pricing and they were like, you know what? I don't think it's a priority for us right now. And then a week later they got hacked, which I was like, that looks really bad on us. People are going to think we like hacked them for the business.
Coincidence over here.
Yeah. But we see that all the time. So there's no such thing as being too small or being.
Can you go back to the ransomware story for a moment? Because I really want startups to really understand what you're stating and how it happens. So like, what does happen? Like, what happened to them? Did you figure it out?
Yeah. So
and where do they go with this?
Yeah. So people talk about ransomware. It's like the buzzword, right? But ransomware is what happens once they're in your system. To me, what's more important is how they get into your system. So there's a few main ways. The two things that people can control the most are phishing attempts, like you were just saying. So clicking on links, things like that. I'm sure we'll talk about that a lot. And then passwords. I was part of the ransomware when City of Atlanta was hit back years ago, and it was the largest attack ever successfully on a U.S. city. And the way they got in was trying passwords. So they tried thousands of passwords, and it's called brute force. And they just try passwords until someone's password is password 123, as we know. And then they're able to get into the system.
Wow. Jeff's laughing. Uh-oh, Jeffrey, no 123 on that password.
Put a hashtag in it.
Put a 123.
Exclamation point at the end.
ABC.
So I want to go back to what you said.
Sure.
And Valentina and I were talking about it before. I think sometimes when people think of cybersecurity, they think of only the technical side. Yeah. But the reality is, correct me if I'm wrong, most of the cyber attacks are from the human side.
Yeah.
Social media, phishing, PHISH, not FISH. Talk a little more about some of the training and the services you provide on the human side to prevent cyber attacks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you have a mobile app like Owwll, obviously you're taking precautions to protect it. But if you're operating in some kind of cloud environment, a lot of that stuff's done automated for you now. Google, Amazon, any of like the providers of these services, they're taking a lot of the cybersecurity off your plate. But what they're not doing is fixing the people who are changing settings and like making this public so that we can use it easier for a week and then forgetting to turn it off. And there's so many things like that where human beings are just constantly, we like to just like touch things. And that's where a lot of the vulnerabilities come out of. And then you got clicking on links, phishing. I mean, it's a huge vulnerability. I think it's probably one of the most important types of tests you can get done. And it's probably the one we see the least. So we're constantly, every time we're selling, tests, penetration tests, which is hacking, we're constantly like, hey, do you want to do this like phishing attempt too? Like, hey, try this. And it's just never a priority, but that's where the vulnerabilities are coming from.
So can you kind of just keep it simple? Security for dummies, let's say, because most startups really, just use Google, right? They have a basic website. They're getting going. They don't have a big budget. They know they need your services, but give us like the security for dummies. What should they do, right? They can't afford these high-end services all the time. So what would you recommend they do, and how do you partner with them?
Yeah, so there's a couple different options. There's two main services that my company offers specifically. There's vulnerability scanning, which is automated in the background, 24/7, just scanning for vulnerabilities in your system. That's pretty affordable. It's less than $100 a month, sometimes cheaper. And the important thing about these services that people don't realize is a lot of times these services will save you money on your insurance and your cyber insurance. So a lot of times it actually ends up paying for itself. And then you have penetration testing, which is an actual human being going into your system, doing a deep dive, hacking, imitating that cyber attack. That's the penetration testing. It's a little more expensive, but to be honest, it's really not, especially compared to how much a ransomware costs, right? Over a couple million. So to me, that's where you need to start with the basics. We don't have to start with this advanced cybersecurity protocol. Just do the basics. If all you do this month is change your passwords, if all you do next month is enable multi-factor authentication, there's things that are free that businesses can be doing to just take a step in that direction. And my favorite analogy in cybersecurity is you don't have to outrun the bear, you have to outrun the person next to you. So I don't have to be the most secure in the world. I just have to be more secure than Jeff, and maybe the hacker will go attack him instead, right? So it's about those baby steps, having plans in place, and just taking it one step at a time.
Yeah, quick question. For example, like a company myself, we're also fully remote digital marketing, and the main tools we use, which is most common tools that most small businesses use, Google Workspace. We use Slack. Maybe we use some website builders. So what kind of security protocols or framework can we put in place to keep the employees secured? I know we use two-step verification, hard passwords. We have a VPN, or we have antivirus software on everybody's computers. What else should we be doing? What else we might be missing to let the hackers in?
Yeah, I think the multi-factor, the 2FA, that's going to be one of the most important steps as a business, is making your employees do that. I know it's annoying. It's annoying for me too, but it's important. Passwords. I know it's annoying having complex ones, but it's important. I'd say other than that, if you're using all these vendors, I don't even know how many vendors we use for different technologies. Something that's completely free is making sure those vendors are secure. So you can tell all those vendors, hey, show me proof of your last penetration test. I think last year, 60% of attacks came through the supply chain, meaning they're not hacking you directly, they're hacking Zoom, and then therefore hacking all the companies that use Zoom. So there's ways like that where you can make vendors give you like security attestation letters, or you can have a questionnaire. And those templates are free online. We have one free on our website that you can hand out to every vendor and be like, hey, fill this out. It takes you 5 minutes, and it's ensuring that your vendors are secure.
And as far as passwords, how often should you change a password, or is it better to use like LastPass or one of those tools?
It's very debated. LastPass and 1Password, they're not foolproof. LastPass was just hacked a couple years ago. Yep. But at the end of the day, you do the best you can. If your options are using something like that and having a complex password, or not using it and doing password 123, I'd rather you use it. You think back to like 10, 20 years ago, it was like, don't write your passwords on Post-its. But if you work fully remote, that's probably the safest place for your password, is a Post-it or a notebook by your desk. So we're going back old school, right, Jeff? And,
I like it.
So at the end of the day,
got Jeffrey really excited. Let's take a moment and notice this.
Just don't write it on your whiteboard.
I always do
have a Zoom meeting with the password.
He's probably got all his passwords right in that binder right there. If we open it up,
back page of LinkedIn for Dummies.
Yeah. So
all Jeffrey's password. Just steal that book.
It's just doing your best. And I don't want you to change your password every month if all you're going to be doing is changing it from an exclamation point to the asterisk. So if you're using complex passwords, then you don't have to change them as often. If there's something like mission critical, like my bank account, that's going to be a completely separate password to everything else. So I think that's what's more important, is making sure that your dumb accounts that don't really have much, okay, don't worry about it as much there. But those mission critical systems, your platform itself, those need to be really.
So I'm going to take it a step further. Would you say it's almost more important than to educate your employees? Right. Like 100%. He was talking about having all these tools, but I know, like on my end, being a financial service professional, every year I have to take a certification for cybersecurity, and different states have different certifications. Getting actually out of control, right? Because all of a sudden I'm registering so many states, I can't take this much cybersecurity in every single state after a while. But something it does is it brings up examples of different issues that have happened in the last 12 months to make sure you're aware. Because I know myself, I have like 12 different email accounts, and it's getting crazy. Yeah. I get a DocuSign, to sign something every single week. I'm like, I didn't send this didn't come from me. But sometimes I have to look twice because it's like an invoice, and an employee would click that invoice. Yeah. Right. But you go a step further, like the Zoom invoices, and you just keep going, like, oh, Facebook needs an update, right? We see it every day on Facebook, like your thing is copyright issue. And I'm like, how is this still an issue that they're allowing these messages to go across? But how many times my mom has called me like, hey, is this real? Like, they're going to shut down my account. I'm like, do not click that, Mom. Right. So point being is it's almost like the education, is it stronger today that like that's almost more important, would you say, than the other side? You kind of see where I'm going.
100%. I don't know that it's more important, but it's definitely the biggest gap. Like that's what people aren't doing. And if I see one more PowerPoint where I just click the next button 20 times and now I passed my security awareness training, that's not training. Okay.
I've done that. What most people are doing.
I've done that.
I've done it too. And, you know, coming from the government, that's all we did was you like, next. Look, I passed. And that's not training. So if you're doing meaningful, intentional training, that's where the benefit is. And not only the training, but just like looking at examples, just being aware, having this open communication. You know, I don't email. So my team knows if they get an email from me about like, hey, send me this information, it's not real, because I hate email. So having those open conversations and your team knows what's from you and what's not, because as a CEO, you know, you're constantly the target and your employees are always getting stuff from you. So that's really important. And really just having like plans in place. Like there's so much that can be mitigated with just like a plan, conversations, without making it like this, you know, crazy cybersecurity program.
Yeah. Just one final follow-up about passwords. You know, a lot of people, a lot of clients ask me this question. Since you're an expert, you can maybe help me. So a lot of people store their passwords in Chrome browser, like the passwords, and it creates strong, long passwords. But if your Google account gets hacked, they have access to your entire life. They get access to your Apple ID, they get access to your banking accounts. And I heard some horror stories where as soon as they got Chrome password login, they lock you out and then they can steal everything. So do you recommend using the safe password into Chrome, or how can you secure that more?
So do I recommend it? No. But do I have some of my passwords saved there? Yes. So, I think we have to be realistic about cybersecurity, and people get up here and are like, this is like the level you have to get to. None of us are unhackable. None of us are perfect. What I don't do is I don't save my bank password in there. I don't save my platform password. So if saving, my dumb accounts that I know don't have as much sensitive data, if that allows me to be more secure in my other ones, that's how I look at it.
Or you can save it but still have the two-step text or verification. That's okay.
If you have two-step, that's gonna stop a lot of attacks. So you just do the best. And I actually had someone ask recently about facial ID and like fingerprint and how secure that is. So basically, when you're doing like Face ID on your phone, what it's doing is it's creating like a super complex password. So that's another good option on your phone. I mean, all of it is just, we're doing the best we can, people. And even if we implement all these things, are you still going to get attacked? Probably. Yes. So,
and all the big brands are getting attacked. I mean,
everyone,
I get these letters in the mail every single quarter now. Like, your information's been stolen, and you're like, this one, and it's big brands, Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah, I get alerts on my credit report. Your password was hacked. Your social security number is on dark web. I'm like, what do I do now?
For anyone worried about like passwords, there's a website. It's going to look like a hacker site, but it's fine. It's called haveibeenpwned.com. And I'm going to spell it because it's really weird. It's HAVEIBEEN, have I been, and then it's PWNED.
That's a hacker term, yeah.
.com.
Old school.
And that's going to show you every dark web database that your passwords and emails are in. So you can type in your work email, your personal email into there, and it's going to show you every data breach you've been a part of. And that kind of gives you some awareness into, okay, maybe I need to switch stuff.
So I mentioned when I'm available on the Owwll app. So thank you for all this great information, Valentina. I'm sure we're going to have people that want to follow up with you. So why don't you spell your URL of your website and then let everybody know, are you going to have office hours or what's your preference on Owwll?
Yeah, so our website is redsentry.com, REDSENTRY.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. If you find me on there, Valentina Flores, Red Sentry. So you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there. And then for the Owwll app, I'm probably going to start establishing some office hours, but for now, I'll probably just be doing periodic check-ins. If you see me on there, you request a call. I'm pretty flexible with my schedule, so maybe I'll just hop on then.
So after the podcast today, this is what her profile looks like. Give Valentina a call. Give us all a call.
So Valentina, dive a little deeper because Owl's all about networking and collaborating. And you listed a couple right there: cybersecurity, leadership, women in tech. And I think the hardest thing with networking today is everyone's reading everyone's LinkedIn profile, their Instagram account. And sometimes, we read it really quickly and make a judgment. And we really don't know what that individual wants to collaborate on, right? I don't know if really you want to be on a podcast every month for the next 12 months. And then all of a sudden, I have a huge collaboration with Podfest Expo every year. And, I could easily make that happen right through the Owwll App, right? You could post and say, I want to be on 12 podcasts. And then I could literally specifically tag the correct podcasters that I believe would get value from you being on their show and vice versa, right? So kind of dive a little deeper into this section on your profile. And then what we're going to do for the first time on this show is we're going to call people live and we're going to try to form a collaboration because that's what's happening on the real Owwll App. Like people call people that are available and opportunities are created 24/7, right? We're the only platform that really you could call someone in that given moment in real time, where platforms like LinkedIn, yeah, it's real time, but it's messaging them and it's connecting. But, it could take months or years really to ever get an in-person call or a meeting, of course. So tell us a little bit more.
So cybersecurity. I love speaking on panels. I mean, podcasts. I love being on other people's podcasts because as you just saw, I don't even know how long we were just talking about something as simple as like a niche of passwords. So there's so much to explore. Yeah. Every cybersecurity panel I've been on has run over. You never get through all the questions because there's just so much to talk about. So I love talking about that and just like how small, medium businesses can stay protected. I also do a lot of groups and community events for women in tech. I think women and minorities are moving more and more into tech, and I love being a part of that. And that's how I actually started with South Florida Tech Hub. Was they have a lot of women's events, and just the community there is just unlike any other. So, if you find that community of people that are just having the exact same struggles as you, that's what I love to talk about. And I love to commiserate about is just what are our obstacles? How are we overcoming them? And I'm never as motivated as when I leave like a women in tech event.
So let's follow up.
Women in tech. That's what we're going to do.
You mentioned South Florida Tech Hub. One of our 4 core pillars is helping underserved communities like women, Black, Hispanics, and others. So talk a little about your involvement. Why did you join Tech Hub and some of the benefits you've gotten out of South Florida Tech Hub?
Yeah, so my co-founder is Black. He's in the hacking community. That's pretty rare. And obviously I'm a woman CEO and that's rare. And then obviously in my last career in policing, obviously a male dominated field. So I've kind of always been surrounded by male dominated fields, and maybe that's where I thrive. I don't know. Or I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't know.
Now you're on a podcast of 3 men.
Oops.
What are the odds? What are the odds?
Of course.
Whoops.
So when I moved to South Florida, I'm fully remote. So, I wanted to see human beings and be part of communities. And South Florida Tech Hub had, I don't even remember what the event was, but it was a women's only tech event.
Right.
And that's what got me hooked. And now I go to all their events, but those are kind of the most meaningful for me, and how much work you guys do for even students and people entering the job market and just all these people that aren't normally talked to about this area.
Right. So South Florida Tech Hub, we have a female CEO. Even if we didn't have a female CEO, we would take this aspect of empowering underserved communities seriously. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to do now, you're going to work with me. We're going to look at some profiles right here. Now we're going to have to do this quick. Typically if we're sitting back, not on a live show, we'd read in detail their profile, but these are the different profiles. So we have Cedric right here. He's in finance. Cassandra, who runs a nonprofit. Patrick does a lot in technology. I know him quite well. AI, Nathan. So you can see their price, like Nathan's $10. So we're probably going to call people more in the $1 to $5 range today. And of course, we're going to have to click into their profile to really kind of get more detail about them to determine if we want to call them. And of course, we hit view more. That line only shows 10. Then this will show, the other people that are available.
Let's try.
So you pick one, and then we're going to call them. Okay. So let's first read her profile. So she's interested in podcasting, youth education, and how to get unstuck, how I turn pain into purpose, how I identify pain. And here's her background. Okay. So, we're gonna see if we could bridge a collaboration by giving her a call out of the blue for $4 for 10 minutes. You ready, Jeffrey?
I'm ready.
Okay. You're going to go broke by the end of this. You only have $30 in your account, Jeffrey.
I need some more money.
Maybe. Hey,
Hello.
Cassandra, this is Jason Hill, the founder of the Owwll App. How's everything going?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we could hear you. So are you cool with being recorded? Your profile's up on.
Jeffrey, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Jeffrey Ullman is here as well. We're
Hey.
just using my profile.
Hey, Cassandra, can you hear us?
Oh, you sound super low. I can hear you barely.
Try going on speaker on your side.
Hello?
We can hear you. Can you hear us now?
I thought I heard something for a moment.
Check 1, 2, 3. Let me get that.
And now I don't hear anything. Hello?
Can
We
you hear
hear you.
us? Cassandra, can you hear us?
Hello?
We could hear her so clearly, though. It's strange.
Hmm.
Cassandra, we'll try you again. Let's just do the old dismiss and call back again. So now, because we're on a live podcast, it's a little bit different than a typical Owwll call because there's a lot of wiring going on and we're going through Bluetooth. But typically, if we get audio and we could hear her, it should be working. So while we
are live.
while we wait, we're going to wait for her to make herself back available. Let's give someone else a call while we're waiting, and then we'll try her again later. Okay. Ooh, let's see. Let's see this one. Soul Awakener, jewelry, life coach,
Nice profile.
podcasting, being interviewed.
Yeah.
Collaborate with wellness retreats and conferences, networking with the Owwll community. And we could see 15 years, Oracle reader, life coach, podcaster, 4-time publisher. Okay. She's done a lot. She's new to the Owwll App. She's done 52 calls.
Huh.
She's in Savannah.
Oh, I grew up in Savannah, Georgia. We can talk about Savannah. I assume it's Georgia.
Savannah, Ohio.
Okay. Oh, looks like it messed up the TV. Steph, can you fix the TV for a second?
Technical difficulties.
Let's put on the other. Oh, look at this beautiful.
Holiday scapes. That's nice.
Here we go.
Well, looks like we're having a connection issue. Let me try to put it back on. No, I'm good. I got it. Okay, we're having a connection issue on her. Oh no.
How do you think you pronounce her first name?
I was going to ask you that. We are having a connection issue with them. Okay, well, welcome to security, tech,
There is
and other stuff.
It's always technical when these technical podcasts happen.
100%.
Well, we're going to give Nathan, because I know he does a lot of calls and his phone works well.
Nathan's great. I just met him the other day at their $1 million event.
We'll switch it up on the fly, right?
Yeah.
Third time's a charm. Hey, Nathan.
Well, hello, Jeffrey.
How you doing?
This is Jeffrey.
Good. How are
This
you,
is
my friend?
Jason Hill, the founder of the Owwll App. How are you doing today?
Good.
Well,
Hold on 1 second. For some reason, it's not on. Trying to get it here.
I'm on as well.
Alright.
Jeffrey Ullman. Thanks.
you're
It's not on speakerphone for some reason, but that's fine.
It always starts on speakerphone. So
It's not this time for some reason. I don't know
just
why.
press the speaker button at the bottom right corner, and then hit it once, and then hit it again, and it should be on speaker.
That just turns you off. But we're good.
We're good.
How's it going?
Cool. Well, Nathan, you're live on Tech Tuesdays, powered by Sapphire Tech Hub. Are you okay being recorded? Because we are on a live stream
absolutely.
right now. Cool.
Absolutely. I was just watching your live stream.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Hey, Nathan's Dennis. How you doing, man?
Dennis is here too. I know you
Hey,
know him.
Dennis, how are you, my friend?
Thanks for being on.
So Nathan, can you tell us some things that you're looking to collaborate with others on the Owwll App with, or just in business in general?
Oh, absolutely. Well, for one thing, I'd like to help them to spread their word and what they do in their business, but also trying to spread kind of the. Let's see, you guys caught me off. I was in the middle of doing a whole bunch of posts and emails and whatnot, so you guys kind of caught me off guard, which
Isn't
is
that
one
life
of the
though?
joys
Isn't
of
that
the
life?
Owwll App.
You just got to run with
It
it.
is.
So
It
you got a
is. It
call
is.
come in, and it's like old school. Someone calls you, they start talking, thinking about pitches,
Right, I
you
know.
know, and now we're never used to picking up phone calls out of the blue, right? We let those things go right to voicemail, or
What,
they say
what do
spam.
you do, Nathan?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm really looking to collaborate with people to see how we can maybe even do some joint ventures on a couple different webinars in whichever way. I've been actually working with some people that we met at the $1 Million Weekend, and then I'm working heavily with Samara, helping her build a course right now. So I'm looking to collaborate. If you've got knowledge that you want to get out there, and you're looking to maybe design and get a course out into the market, I'm one of your key people to do that with. And also anybody that's working in the AI technical field, but also in a way that they can keep that human presence in it too as well.
And what are your webinars usually on?
I usually run about an hour to 90-minute webinar.
But be more specific. Like, are they open to anybody? Is it all general topics? Kind of explain a little.
Well, I'm looking more for people that are actively pursuing new innovations and new techniques for their business in life. So I'm looking more for business leaders. I did one for we did one where I was working on the mastering your cash flow, where that was kind of designed for even the smallest of businesses and people getting started out. It goes over a 5-step process looking at your foundations, your operations, your inflows, your outflows, and then how to automate the whole thing.
That's an exhausting topic, right?
Very important one for
and
business.
I'll have to apologize. I know we're kind of pushing the foundations of technology right now, but it is extremely hard for me to hear you guys. So I've got you up to my ear, and I'm listening attentively to hear your questions.
That is okay. We are pushing the boundaries here, doing it through a live stream and Bluetooth and all sorts of wires and technology going on. So we'll keep it brief. Nathan, would it be of interest to have someone in the security field, right? Victoria, right, helps a lot with startups, mid-sized businesses, and large businesses really prevent security hacks, right?
Valentina.
Think about,
You mean Valentina?
What did I say?
I respond
Victoria.
to everything.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a V.
I'm bugging out with all the technology
It's a
going
V.
on, so I'm going cloudy over here. Would that be a person of interest to have on one of your webinars?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, since we have the expert right here live,
but I'm planning on doing another one. Great. I'll stop talking. I'll listen for a second.
do you have any cybersecurity question you might want to ask an expert?
Well, off the top of my head, not right at the. Well, I guess yes. I'd like to see where he thinks that data management and keeping things more your IP personal as, these the advancements in artificial intelligence. I mean, we constantly play whack-a-mole on how people are getting into our systems and getting our data. And I think that there's been so many times that are throughout history, especially over the last 5 to 10 years, where half the users and consumers don't even realize what data is being shared of their own. Yeah. And so I'd maybe like to get his more broader perspective on where data security is going in the future. I want to be more future focused. Like, what are we going to be up against? How are we going to even keep things secure? I mean, we can even just talk about how it's almost like, and I guess I don't want to get too weird on you, but like when you talk about vampire stories, you've got to let the vampire into your house. Well, I think in tech security, with the way that we get kind of fooled now, we're letting the intruders into our house on a regular basis without even realizing it, because they're interacting with us, and we think we're actually talking to a real human. So those kind of big future things. What are we going to do with security in that realm?
Yeah, so AI, the question around it is always like, should I use ChatGPT? And I think there's a way to use it responsibly. I don't think AI is going to be incredible for the entire world, every one of our companies. But last year, 11% of information put into ChatGPT was sensitive info. So, we can use ChatGPT, and there's a lot of great things that can come out of it, or any of the tools. But sensitive info is where we need to draw the line. And that goes back to the training your employees on what you can and can't use it for, having policies for your team. And then you mentioned the data, having a local version of it is definitely going to be more secure than using the open form. So there's ways to use it intelligently and more secure. Is it unhackable? No. ChatGPT just got hacked. It might've been 2 years ago now, maybe a year ago. And every data, everything that anyone had put in there is now leaked. So nothing's unhackable, but there's smarter ways to use it for your business.
And when we were at your event, Dennis, $1 Million Weekend, I remember someone speaking specifically about this topic, where the local health facility was taking all the patient records and putting it into ChatGPT, and then all of a sudden, their patients
no, you
started to
can't
see,
do that. That's
but their
total
patients
HIPAA
started
violation
seeing,
right there.
emails and they were getting solicited a different drug, right? It was kind of crazy because that info was in ChatGPT, and
some people don't
they
realize
they can't just put all that detail into ChatGPT all the time.
Well, it's so easy to use, and it makes your job so much more efficient that it's just so natural to just put an Excel sheet into one of the tools and just have it parse all the data. I mean, it's just there, so easy right in front of you. It's hard to not take that temptation. So I think companies are gonna have to get a lot more strict with their employees around what's allowed and what's not in terms of policies, because we talked about human beings being the vulnerability earlier, and that's absolutely the case for AI use.
Does that help answer your question?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm right on that realm. But I don't know if we've got enough time. I'd like to pose another question.
You got 1 minute and 42 seconds because we only allow 10 minutes per call on the show because a live show, of course.
Well, yeah, and maybe if you guys even want to take the discussion farther, but what about the aspect of, in the future, as people are now not even realizing they're interacting with AI? Like I just had a client that lost about $6,000, didn't realize they were working with AI, but the images, the video conversations that they had with them, all were AI generated, and I was able to kind of show her that. Kind of was this aha moment for her, and I think that is where we almost need to train our brains to understand now what AI really is, because we're talking LLMs, we're talking ChatGPT, but I'm talking, the advancements that happened yesterday that people don't even realize. What HeyGen just came out where Zoom, you can now throw an avatar in there with Zoom, and I've seen some of the stuff coming up, but that's on our horizon tomorrow. How are we going to adapt and keep our security that way when AI is going to just ask us to give us the information they want?
Yeah, I mean, AI is basically a race between hackers, defensive companies, and businesses, and hackers are always going to win that race, for the record. But when you're talking about businesses using AI, especially for graphics and things like that, I think there will eventually be more regulation around, yes, you have to put AI generated on things. There's going to be, rules around it. But at the end of the day, AI is going to be in everything. And machine learning's already been in a lot of, you think about like customer support's one of the biggest ways AI is being used. Machine learning's been a part of that forever. So I think we've been interacting with it. It's just kind of more to the forefront now. And
thanks for joining us, Nathan. I know
absolutely
cut off, but you'll hear the answer on the other end of the feed. So continue with your answer, because Nathan, go ahead and watch the rest of this episode.
And, so
see it, of course.
AI is the reality. It's here. It's in the future, and it's about learning how to use it safely. It's not avoiding it. I don't think there's any point in avoiding it. It's just how do we use it the best we can for our purpose and use it as safely as we can.
So do you educate your clients how to distinguish between AI and not AI, like when you're interacting with clients or customers?
Yeah, so for us, AI is just an extra attack method. Companies that are using AI in their tools, if they're using a company, there's a lot of like specialized companies out there that are building AI into existing products, and there's ways to do it responsibly. But at the end of the day, that's an extra, what we call an attack vector. It's an extra way for hackers to get in. So that's really what we're looking at is how you're using it secure, or are there vulnerabilities there, and you need to patch it up just like any other part of your tech stack. So we don't really treat it differently. It's a niche thing, but it's just part of the technology.
Makes sense.
So that was your first experience doing a live Owwll call. So you kind of see it. Like Nathan, was sitting there doing some emailing, some other work. His phone rang, and it's very traditional, like the old school Jeffrey. Is like you pick up a call, you say hello.
Poor
how are
Jeffrey's
you?
just getting
How's everything
on
going?
this call.
But it's important in business because you're talking so much and you're so passionate about it, right? But really, that passion can't go to work if you don't have customers to talk to, right? And I think lots of times we see these entrepreneurs like yourself that are pretty far along, and then they could go on podcast shows, they could go on panels, but those first 3 years. Like, no, like no one cared. Sorry, but no one cared because you could yell at LinkedIn all you want, these videos, but the meetings didn't show up. Right. And having conversations like that with Nathan, like the value, just naturally happens because he has questions and you're providing him value. And then all of a sudden, like, hey, let's jump onto another meeting on Zoom. And then next thing you know, there's a ripple effect, right? Where you're on, his webinar talking to his audience and somebody's making a purchase, right? Because you could be, a Harvard grad, right? And a genius. But if you can't get a meeting, right, you're gonna have trouble being successful in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I see network within their specific industry, and they're very like niche down into their networking groups. And I think it's so much more exciting and engaging to talk to people from all different industries, something that you don't know anything about, and there's always overlap. So I think that's one of the really cool things about the tool.
Yeah. And what we're going to do now is we're going to call somebody else, right? So here was Nathan's profile. I know we didn't read it earlier, but it's right up on the screen.
So Jason and I did not talk about this. See if you can find Terry Ingram. I talked to him yesterday. He called in on a previous show. See if he's available. INGRAM.
Right here.
Yes.
I mean, we could request him to make himself available. But at this given moment, he is not available. So when I click that button, he'll get a text message, an email, and a notification saying that there's a valuable opportunity on the other side because we have someone on Owwll that wants to pay to chat with you. And of course, if he's sitting there and he's available, maybe he'll make himself available. Maybe he won't, right? That's up to him. But of course, as experts charge more, they're more likely to take that inquiry a lot more serious because right now he's sitting there at $1. But if he was sitting there at like $100 and I get those requests because I list myself at $100 for 10 minutes, then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'll make myself available. They give me a ring. I'll stop what I'm doing. Right. So that's the power of how we reverse engineered scheduling.
Yeah. You might want to talk a little, Jason, about the variability in pricing that a user can set for their own profile.
Yeah, I think often people, jump the gun and pay for a premium account and they go, oh, I'm going to make all this money on Owwll. I'm going to charge a higher rate. They look at my profile. They say, Jason's taken close to 2,000 calls. He's $99. There's so many people logging into this app and they're going to call me to get advice, right? And the truth is you list your price high and the calls typically do not come in because the people on Owwll are going in there looking for networking opportunities and collaborating, right? Advice is free out there. It's everywhere. You got ChatGPT, you got Google, you got YouTube telling you how to do things, right? So if you go in this app, yes, there's some people that will call you advice, but most of these people don't know who you are, right? So they make a typical marketing mistake. They price themselves too high and they say, look, your app's really cool, but I didn't get enough calls. And I always tell everyone, like, that's not what the app is about. The app is about just bridging collaborations and networking on it and forming a bigger opportunity for your business through a $1 phone call, right? Just like we did with Nathan, right? Like all of a sudden, like she makes that call, right? It wasn't live on the show. And then Nathan really does invite her onto a broadcast. And let's say that broadcast has 200 people on it. Right now, she got the word out in front of 200 people. Or the next time she calls someone who has a very large podcast and that, gets 10,000 downloads a month. And all of a sudden there's 10,000 people that now know about her brand. And that's a bigger opportunity because, she has a lot of profit margin when she signs up a mid-sized business. Maybe that mid-sized business spends $25,000 to $50,000 a year on cybersecurity, right? With her brand. It's a much better opportunity than worrying about saying, oh, I'm going to charge $20 for 10 minutes of your time. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of the difference with pricing people out. And you saw me doing it earlier, right? Because you only had $30 in your account. And when I was looking at people to call, I'm like, that person's too much. And I didn't even click their profile. I skipped over it because they were $55.
Exactly.
Right. But you can play the game of putting your price high and then lowering it because then people immediately like, oh, that individual is $55 for the whole entire week, but now they're $1, right? They're valuable. I'm now going to give them a ring. So Owwll is really, what you make of it. Folks like myself make a lot more outbound calls. I look at it as like, if you want to call me and push me to stop what I'm doing, you're going to have to pay me a high price because I'm founder of the app. But I make a lot of outbound calls on purpose because outbound, if there's 20, 30 people available, I could specifically look for those 3 or 4 that I see that there could be a future collaboration with, right? I see what they've listed on their profile, what they want to collaborate on. and I just go in and have a natural conversation like we just did with Nathan. So that's kind of what I do. And we're going to do it again right now. We're going to call someone else. Okay. So here's a prior Tech Tuesday individual. We're going to call Patrick Farrell, because Patrick Farrell does a lot in tech, and he runs a pretty large community in Miami. So, knowing that he runs a community and security is of the utmost importance, I think it'll be a cool call. Hey, Patrick.
How's it going?
Ooh, background music.
Nice background music.
Can you hear me?
You're here with Jeffrey and Jason Hill.
Hello.
We have you live on the Tech Tuesday podcast powered by Sapphire Tech Hub. Can you hear us?
How's it going? How's it going, guys? Good to hear from you.
Good. Are you cool with being recorded? Because this is streaming on social media. Cool.
Absolutely. Let me put some headphones on. Let me see if I can hear you a little bit better. 1 second.
Sounds good. Sounds like we might be having an audio issue because of our streaming. So this phone over here does not have cell phone signal. So maybe we're seeing a pattern here that people are having a difficulty hearing us on the other end. So it could be bridging a connection through audio technology and streaming.
You're going in and out a little bit, but
yeah,
talk to you guys.
I think it's due to our streaming. We have so much going on right now. But that potentially is the issue because we hear you loud and clear on our ends. Well, Patrick, can you tell our audience a little bit about what you do and the types of folks you're looking to collaborate here on the Owwll App with?
You said tell your audience about what I do and what did you say the last part was?
Who you're looking to collaborate with in general on the Owwll App or in general.
So hang on. So my name is Patrick Farrell. I am a software engineer turned entrepreneur, and I help startup companies as well as solopreneurs, coaches work on their tech systems for their business and funnels, getting really clear on their offers and just kind of taking their wisdom and actually turning it into digital products that they can sell and create a freedom lifestyle from.
And now Valentina is our featured expert of the day on the Owwll App. Valentina, can you tell Patrick in 30 seconds or less a little bit about your security brand and just naturally what you do?
Yeah, so we do offensive cybersecurity, so penetration testing, vulnerability scanning, which you're probably familiar with in your field. And we actually work mostly through partners, those that are providing IT consulting or tech consulting in general. So I think there could definitely be some collaboration between the two of us.
Absolutely. Actually, I've been thinking about that a lot lately. A lot more businesses, technically every business needs more and more data in their business. I'm helping people build websites, but then they need a back-end database and all that stuff. And how you secure that is really, really important. And I don't think a lot of people know how to do that or even think about it when they're getting started. So I definitely want to talk more about cybersecurity.
Yeah. Are you actually building the tools, or you're helping on more the sales side, how to do the revenue streams?
No, I'm a software engineer. So I went to Virginia Tech. I have 2 degrees in electrical engineering and focused mostly on software my entire career. So I'm heavily on the tech side. I still do tech work, and I'm actually building out a couple of products myself. I have a open source platform actually that anybody listening, if you are interested and want to get started really quickly. I have a web framework that I built that you could do what it took me a year to figure out in about 5 minutes. To kind of get a website going that you can actually code on. And then I also have other organizational tools that I'm building to organize media and those type of things. So, and helping people with their databases. So yes, I definitely am very technical and love to kind of get people started to make sure that their business is working well in an organizational sense digitally. Yeah.
And I think, a lot of people start worrying about security once the product's launched and once they're selling. And there's what's called shift left cybersecurity for those that aren't aware. And it's bringing security into the development life cycle. And when you're building the tool, putting security at the forefront. And so, security engineers, software developers, people that are building out these tools are taking cybersecurity a lot more seriously, which is great to see.
Yeah. Absolutely. And basically if you think about it early on, it's a lot easier, right?
Absolutely.
It's if you put everything in the back closet for a couple of years and then you have to go look at it, it's difficult to clean out. But if you think about it from the very start, it's a lot easier to maintain. And I know that I can help people get started a lot faster, but I'm not the cybersecurity expert, so definitely want to talk to you more. And
we're talking to one
to work together.
Yeah, no,
Our featured expert for today is a cybersecurity expert.
That's amazing.
Well, Patrick, can you talk a little bit about how you help these startups on your on your Zoom meetings every month? Because I know often, you run these Zooms and people are always picking your brain about technology and processes. And Patrick actually came on one of the Owwll tutorials where I taught how to use Owwll, and then he just explained kind of how to use it, on the back end, like create, more like a CRM, right, where you could really track people that you've spoken to and literally just create a pipeline of leads and opportunities for your business. So Patrick, can you speak about your monthly meetups that you do? Because I think it's important. There's a lot of people out there that want to be part of this community that you offer. And Valentina also, potentially could be, someone that comes in as a speaker in your community, because all these startups do it the reverse way that you guys just mentioned. I know myself, like, we're just worried about the concept working, and then all of a sudden we're like, okay, we'll get security in a year from now, and then it's the wrong mindset, because by then it's a lot harder to fix and it's a lot more expensive. So can you talk about your meetups a little bit?
Yeah, I think I got what you're saying. Your words are coming in and out a little bit, but I will go with what I think you're asking me to say, which is I have started to use Owwll actually to reach out to people, to make connections. But I don't think people always have the back end systems to kind of like continue to follow up and know who did I contact and how did I contact them, and have a follow-up system, and actually using technologies like Owwll to actually connect and grow your business. So like I built systems in Notion as well as Airtable and things like that to keep track of that and actually create a systematized process that I use daily actually.
Nice.
I love Notion. For anyone that hasn't tried Notion, for someone who has ADHD, it's like the best platform I've found for that use.
Nice. Well, Patrick, thanks for joining us on today's show. And you can watch a replay. Just go to our YouTube account or LinkedIn and just cut to around I'm 1 hour in, and you'll see your image up on the TV and also your profile. Okay.
Grateful to connect with you all, and definitely would love to chat with you more about cybersecurity and how we can accelerate people's process.
So Valentina is now available on the Owwll app as well.
Yep, I'll find you.
So quick question. Valentina and I talked about her partner program that Red Sentry has. I want to call, and I don't know if he's already a partner. Centuric, Jeb Reynolds, are they a partner?
They're not. We actually just talked at an event last week.
Let's call Jeb Reynolds.
Well, he's not online.
He's not? Okay.
Is he?
Let's call him anyway.
Well,
you're saying call people, but if they're not available, you can't just call people.
We are doing this live. Jason and I did not practice this before. This is absolutely live.
So what Jeff's referring to?
Right here. I mean, we can request him to go available. We'll see if he does.
I wonder if they're like maybe a competitor.
So yeah, people assume
that's why I'm bringing it up.
Are competitors of us, or even within this like tech world that everyone's competing with each other. But often what it is partnerships. So what I do is very niche. We don't fix things. We don't defend things. We only break into things. So we would partner with companies like Jeb, and they would be building the defenses, and they would be offering the consulting, and then they would use us as a third party to test those defenses. There's what's called offensive and defensive cybersecurity, and almost everyone focuses on defenses, kind of building those walls. But it's not effective if you're not testing it and stress testing it and making sure. So no one should be testing their own things that they build. You should always bring in a third party. We don't even do our own penetration testing. We have someone else that we trust come do ours. So it's very collaborative in the cybersecurity world. A lot of people partner with each other and just do what they do best.
Speaking of a partnership, and I noticed you guys also have like a scanner tool, so a company can hire you to scan their platforms, their websites. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, the scanner?
Yeah, so the vulnerability scanner is 24/7, 365. It's running in the background, testing for common vulnerabilities. I think this month alone, I had it written down, I think over 2,000 new vulnerabilities have come out in October alone. So getting a one-time penetration test and then waiting until the next year is not enough. So what that scanner does is it tests your system against new vulnerabilities that are coming out, maybe someone tweaks that setting and now you're vulnerable to this. So the vulnerability scanner is kind of like a background tool working 24/7 and alerting you whenever new vulnerabilities pop up in your system. And we do partner with companies that either resell that or use it on their clients, MSPs, MSSPs, all the acronyms.
So do you have to install the scanner on your server, or is it like remote?
It depends. There's external and cloud. Those are going to be remote. There's also an internal scanner scanning your internal network, and that's going to have an agent that you download onto your server.
I should have prefaced my question. I haven't been in the IT industry for a long time. Companies, it's very common for companies to partner and complement and work with each other. So I wanted to make the point that companies like Centuric, and Jeb was on last week, would be a perfect partnership with Red Sentry.
Even other penetration testing firms we work great with. You know, I mean, to me, it's the entire industry against hackers. It's not like, you know, competitive between us and the other pen testers. There's plenty of cybersecurity needs to go around. So we love collaborating with other people and, you know, other people in this industry.
One more. Scott Jewett was on a couple of weeks ago. I think he is available.
No, he was, but he's not anymore. I think he has office hours on. So people with office hours, a little trick is they'll set them for like 10 o'clock to 11 or 11 to 12. So whenever you check, you know, on the hour, you'll see more people come available, of course, on the hour. But right now, he is not there.
Okay.
Are there certain times of day where people are more active, like during the workday or after the workday?
Monday through Friday, of course, is busier for networking. Think about like LinkedIn. You know, when do people more commonly use LinkedIn? It's Monday through Friday, especially Mondays, right? We get a lot of people come in here on Monday and they want to fill up their schedule with meetings, right? And how do they do that? They call people on out because they get to work on a Monday, and a lot of startups, you know, and early entrepreneurs, like they come in on a Monday and they're like, wait, my schedule's empty, right? I have no events to go to. I have no networking events to go to. What am I going to do the entire week, right? They have to create action, right? How do you create action? You go on Owwll and you call people and you create that action. So we see a big uptick on Mondays. That's our busiest call day of the week. And I would say our slowest day of the week, Monday through Friday, is Friday. Of course, people are kind of like burnt out a little bit. Like, I'm good. It's Friday. I'm not going to do as many calls. And the weekend, it slows down. Those are your true entrepreneurs that say, hey, I could work 7 days a week, and they get in there. And you actually see an uptick of Sunday nights.
Well, I'll tell you a story.
A decent amount of people got in there.
I was speaking with Robert Deck, who's also was on previously. We were talking about the Owwll app. He said, Jeffrey, Sunday afternoon, I was bored. I put myself available, and I had 2 people on Owwll call me.
Look, we could see this data, you know, live. So if I go to Deck, I put it up in the top there, and then here's Robert, right? And right here is profile. You can see he's taken 14 calls and he has 10 reviews. So if we click the 10 reviews, we could fact check this, right? He spoke to Sabine 2 days ago.
There you go.
And it looks like twice, but maybe one other person didn't leave a review. So there could have been that other individual that he's speaking about. And, you know, that was on a weekend, right? So you literally can just be like, I'm sitting on a couch watching Sunday football. Make yourself available. A call comes in. You're watching football while you're collaborating and networking, right?
So that's kind of something I never really thought about. We all have downtime. They're all time. I mean, I get bored on the weekends too.
I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, so I'm not bored on the weekend, everyone. I
there
will
you go.
Be there.
But
I can relate.
it's good. It's good to leverage your downtime if you want. And the Owwll app has that flexibility.
I do it whenever I'm driving home.
That's a good time.
I drive home 7 to 10 p.m. at night most evenings when I'm commuting Monday through Friday. And you know, right when I get in my car, I look down, I see who's available, and I call them, and then I start driving. You know, my commute's 30 to 45 minutes typically, depending on traffic. And every week, I bridge another, you know, collaboration, and you just don't know who's on the other side. Like a lot of people set up their profile, like Valentina, like they get in, they quickly add a headshot, they add like a sentence or 2 of their bio, and they're just curious of what the app is, and then they make themselves available. And all of a sudden, you're on a call with them, and there's this whole other side to them that you did not realize on their profile, because most people are just jumping into a new product offering, and they're like, oh, I'm not going to fill out my entire profile. I'm not going to take the time to go over to my LinkedIn, copy and paste it over, right? They're just going to add a sentence or 2, right? And then once they get a couple calls under their belt, that's when they start adding more to their profile.
Do we have like a technology section? You know, we have New Owwll, South Florida Tech Hub, but what about people just in technology or you know,
so
based on a category?
So right at the top, you could search anything, right? So if you want to say a specific word,
I want to connect with
for technology,
cybersecurity professionals or
okay, so you can put
MSPs.
cyber, security right here at the top. Guys are really testing my spelling skills over here. No one knows how to spell anymore. We don't have it like Google where it fixes it yet. So cybersecurity. So all these people, right? So here, Roberta, right? She goes to a lot of South Florida Tech Hub events, right? She's taken 8 calls, 7 reviews. Now we follow her, right? Because you're leaving it the chance if you just log into the app and just see who's available because it's 24/7, right? But if you follow her, you'll receive a notification when she makes herself available. And then all of a sudden you stop what you're doing, you call her. Like, I always wanted to speak with her, right? So you can search that way. And then we, of course, down at the bottom, the little search bar, this is more of a filtered search. So you could select a state, you could search by calls taken, and you could also search by expertise or groups even. So if we go here.
Yeah, groups, that's what I was looking at.
Cybersecurity, I forget what we have it under. Maybe we have it just under security in general. I'm not sure if we have cybersecurity now that I'm looking at this.
I think you had technology, and then I think that's what I
think we have to add this for you. So
I went with entrepreneurship.
There's so many expertises, of course. So we have to be careful because this list gets quite long. So when everyone, comes into the app, like add this expertise, and then we have a feature where you could add a custom expertise when you hold a premium account, and then you get anything under the sun. So you could either search from the top of the app or through the filter search. And that's important because if you're a local real estate professional and you really want to only call upon people from Florida, you could just sort Florida first and then call only the people that are located in Florida. So that way you're making just more intentional phone calls.
Right. So related to point is the app is available throughout the U.S. So you have multiple time zones. So the example Jason just used, it may be downtime for him at 7 p.m. Eastern, but it's still a work day out in California. So don't think just because it's a downtime for you, some others aren't working. So it is all time zones in the U.S.
Yeah. And the most important thing, of course, is make it what you want it to be. Right. When you look at why you use LinkedIn versus why he uses LinkedIn, right? I bet he's using LinkedIn more. Watch this, to get clients. I'm assuming.
Use it for inbound branding to get clients and spread the information.
Where you're just really notifying your current members and future members about events, right? You want them to attend and engage on your content. So, and then all of a sudden, when you look at what he's doing, he's probably sending more outbound messages on his LinkedIn.
Right. More for like PR and just service provision.
Correct. So it's no different with Owwll, right? Like some people download it and they're like, I didn't get the right calls. I'm like, well, don't worry about getting the right calls. Make the right calls then. Right. So it all is about your intentions. And it all starts with like, what is your goals? Stop there and write them down. And I could do it right now on the spot. Valentina, what are your goals in the next 12 months when it comes to networking and collaborating?
More events, more speaking opportunities, more educational events.
So right off the bat, like that's what she should list right on her profile, right? And then specifically go on the app and look for folks like Samara, right, who attended your event. And Samara's live on this app quite frequently.
I think the community hub would also be great, where you can announce what type of people you want to collaborate with.
Yes.
So Jason, can you explain a little bit about the community hub?
So the community hub is right here, where we'll look at these different examples. I'm just going to go to one that's kind of easier to understand. I'm looking to connect with someone about grant writing and business plan formations. Also, anyone wanting to be a guest on my podcast, right? So she lists 2 different things. And then in the community hub, other people like myself listed, like here's Libby Highkind. She's known as the Queen of Grants. She owns Grant Watch, and she's on the app every so often. So now she could literally talk to a published author about grants, and Grant Watch is the biggest grant website in the world, right? So she could connect with the Queen herself, or Connie Myers. I posted because Connie has a nonprofit and she's gone through that same process. And then, of course, I could tag other people that could be potential, person for her podcast, right? So you could list exactly what you said in the chat forum and literally have the community do the work for you. But then you have to take the effort, right? because just because people put a couple tags on there, right, you have to actually go out and call those people that are tagged, or take it a step further, hit the request to make themselves available. Because if they're not proactive on the platform, if you're sitting back and waiting, the odds are, less will happen. That's the same thing with entrepreneurship.
It's making it a priority.
Right?
I mean, networking's so easy to put on the back burner, but I mean, it's a crucial part of business, especially as a leader. So you have to set that time or prioritize it.
It's true, because you could be the best at what you do in cybersecurity. But often I find the reason why businesses can't scale or grow is because, they have X amount of client meetings per week, right? And then all of a sudden they skip out on the networking side, and figuring that side out and really making it part of their 12-month plan. Saying what you said is like, I want to be on one podcast a month, or I want to be, on a panel or a keynote, once a month as well. And if you did that every single month, right? Both of those, right? That's 20 to 30 speaking engagements, and there's ripple impact from those speaking engagements.
I think especially in technology, so many of us are introverts. And I mean, I had a Celsius, so you might not be able to tell, but I am an introvert. And so there's, like networking for introverts can be really hard. So it's about making it do that intentional effort. I'm going to call 3 people during this call ride home, or, whatever that intentional prioritization is. Sometimes we have to make that more strict.
Okay. Well, I say we place a bet here. Let's do it. We've never done this, Jeffrey.
Something new.
We're going to do something new. You said you wanted to be spontaneous today.
Ding, ding, ding.
Well, we're going to place a bet with our guest. So,
how many people I call?
Yeah, you got it. You said you're going to do it when you leave.
Now,
so
remember,
we're going to make a bet.
Remember, Jason can track this.
I got a 30-minute drive.
We all can track this.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
It's purely
That's right.
upside. Purely upside bet.
Okay.
If you, in the next 7 days, make 3 outbound calls, right? You call even the people back that we called today. 3 outbound calls, we will provide you a $25 Owwll bonus in your account. So there's no downside risk.
Love a challenge.
You accept this challenge.
I do. I accept.
Mission Impossible theme song. Let's go.
You asked me to be spontaneous today. We switch things up, and I am. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, Jeffrey, take us home.
So, thank you, Valentina.
Thank you
for being an outstanding guest. Why don't we go around the horn, so to speak, and then I'll close this out. Ladies first. Valentina, any last things you'd like to mention? Maybe something we didn't talk about, or anything in general? Parting shots.
I mean, cybersecurity in general can be very overwhelming, especially if you're new to it. So don't feel like because I don't know enough, I can't start these conversations. If you have questions that even if you think they're dumb or you think you don't know enough about it, reach out. I'd love to talk, and I'll be on Owwll.
Thank you. Denis, parting shots.
Yeah, Valentina, thanks so much for being on our show. Learned a lot, and I'm definitely interested in the partner program because I think most of my clients need the cybersecurity and the testing. And so we'll be chatting about that, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
I'll outbound call you today.
There you go.
Jason. Everybody listening, there's a profile right up on the television. Make sure, top right, it's going to be gray. You hit that follow button so it turns gold. And then take it one step further. Just click her LinkedIn profile right there and message her. Be proactive and say, hey, I saw you on the podcast powered by Sapphire Tech Hub. And so I'd love to chat about X, Y, or Z. Make it more intentional, not spammy. And then hit that request to go live button right here. Just do that. And the odds are she will see all that information come across and pretty much say, okay, I'm going to make myself available. This person's genuine, and form a collaboration with Valentina. That's my ask.
Thank you, Jason. So again, I'm available on Owwll office hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Couple of reminders. Our upcoming startup event is called Ignite. It's going to be Thursday, November 14th at Boca Raton Innovation Center. I forgot Jason's going to be there. If you don't talk to Jason on Owwll by then, you can come see him live. And do a podcast while we're there live. So that's Ignite, Thursday, November 14th. And Tech Talent Fest reschedule is going to be Monday, November 18th at Florida International University. And again, I forgot that Valentina is going to be on a panel there. So if you don't talk to her on Owwll, but please call her now, she'll be live and in person on a panel at Tech Talent Fest. So thank you, Steph, in the background. Thanks for watching live. If you're watching the replay, thank you, and have a great day.
See you next week.
Thanks.
See you next week, everybody.